Welcome back to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show, where we check the pulse of Husker Nation, brought to you by DPS Concrete Construction. Check them out at dpsconstruction.net. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to be back doing what I love, which is talking Nebraska football, college football. I won't mention that I about died while I was skiing at Steamboat. I might have fell, but anyways, I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited. There's lots to talk about this offseason. Like, college football is pretty much year-round now. All right, real quick, if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button if you want more Carriker Chronicles content and you don't want to miss anything. Before Christmas, we had about a 30 to 33% of the folks who watched our videos were subscribers. Now we're up to about 40. Okay, throughout the offseason, I'm going to be trying to be putting out content twice a week. I'm including interviews. I'm going to give a reaction to the national championship game on Monday, what Nebraska can learn, transfer portal stuff, all sorts of stuff. All right, now, if you like what Matt Rhule has done so far this offseason, bringing in a top 20 recruiting class, number 18 in the country. In fact, they had 29 signees, tied for most, okay, out of 130 plus FBS teams. Obviously, that includes Dylan Raiola, the number one quarterback in the country. Okay, now Georgia, who had the number one class in the country, had the second most signees with 28. If you like what Matt Rhule and his staff have done this offseason, then smash that like button. Random side note, Colorado has 6 total signees in the 102nd ranked class in the country right now. I just thought that was interesting. But in fairness to the Buffaloes, who wants to be fair to them? I guess I will. They have more transfer portal signees, okay, than anybody else in the country, the number 2 class in the country right now. All right, last year, they had 56 guys who transferred out and 50 guys who transferred in. All right, they already this year have the second most amount of transfer commits in the entire country. Okay, Coach Prime, he's about that instant turnover, that instant gratification. Matt Rhule's more of a bringing the young guys, develop them, train them our way type process, retaining players and keeping them over time. Okay, now, again, they have the number 1 transfer portal class last year, Colorado did, more transfers last year than the number 2, 3, and 4 transfer portal classes combined, which was Louisville, USC, UCLA. I just thought some of those things were kind of interesting. All right, now one thing that did stand out to me, and then I'll talk Nebraska, okay, the transfer portal guys that are in this week, this weekend, and things of that nature. One thing that stood out to me about the number 1 transfer portal class in the entire country belongs to Ole Miss right now. The last 3 years, they've had the number 1 class, transfer portal, number 6, and number 1 in the entire country. All right, keep your eye on Lane Kiffin and those Rebels next season. All right, to the Huskers, to the team that really matters. The last 3 seasons, we've had the 14th ranked transfer portal class a couple years ago. Okay, we had 20 players who transferred out and 16 who transferred in. Last year, the 41st ranked transfer portal class in the country, 26 players who transferred out, 14 who transferred in. This year, okay, and this week, I should say, and weekend, we have 5 transfer portal visitors to Nebraska. All right, now, notable players who've entered the transfer portal from Nebraska since it opened, okay, in December. Quarterback Jeff Sims, Chubba Purdy, all right, son of Husker legend Baron Miles, all right, Baron Miles Jr., who's a wide receiver. Linebacker Randolph Kapai, I just always like saying his names. Things just didn't work out with him. Okay, there were some others as well, obviously, but the Huskers' retention rate, okay, of players has been phenomenal. And I've talked about that on some of my other videos and other shows, and I haven't really talked about transfer portal guys yet. Now that's the focus for Nebraska at this point in time. So it's time to talk about those things. I will say this. The retention of players at Nebraska, as I mentioned in this show and other shows, if you missed it, go check it out, is as good as anybody in the country and explains why Nebraska hasn't had to bring in a bunch of transfer portal players. Okay? And like I said, now's the time to focus on that. So here are 5 players visiting this week and this weekend to the Big Red, starting with running back Dante Dowdell from Oregon. Now, he was a consensus 4-star out of high school, the most highly touted of all the players that are visiting this weekend and weekend coming out of high school. Most highly touted and most highly recruited player, that is. He was number 131, number 151, number 194 in the entire country, depending on which recruiting service you looked at. Basically, a consensus 150, 200, a top 200 type player. Now, he was a freshman last year at Oregon. Now, Oregon's running back room is pretty loaded. Okay, when he entered the transfer portal, he drew immediate interest from all over the country. All right, Nebraska running backs coach E.J. Barthel, according to Dante's dad, caught their attention. He said, and I quote, he believed Dante could make an early impact at Nebraska, said Lawrence Hopkins, Dowdell's father. That was a huge factor to at least draw a visit, end quote. Now, when you look at what Matt Rule has said about the running backs room. He said he feels pretty good about the room. Okay, he has flat out said he has 4 running backs he likes. You got Emmett Johnson, Quentin Ives, young players that he really likes a lot. You got Gabe Irvin, Ramir Johnson, guys coming back from injuries, vets, okay, that have started games in their own right, in their own career. They're expected to come back and be healthy next year. I think this is a scenario where Dante is just so talented. How do you not take a look at him if you're Matt Rule? All right, you look at who's next. Isaiah Nair out of Texas. Now, all right, he's supposed to be in this weekend. And to be clear, you never know how these things are actually going to shake up. Right now, it's 5 portal guys that we're looking at this week and weekend. Okay, who knows what the actual number will be, because sometimes that can be a fluid situation. But he left Wyoming under former Nebraska coach Craig Bohl, who built a dynamic program at North Dakota State, then did really well at Wyoming. I say that because he just retired. Congrats and shout out to Craig Bohl. Actually, the man who recruited me, he was my D coordinator my freshman year at Nebraska. Now, he was one of the best players in the entire Mountain West Conference when he entered the portal, okay? And then he transferred to Texas. He was the hottest wide receiver in the entire portal, if I'm being honest with you at that point in time. Now, he chose Texas over USC, Florida, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. He suffered an injury during his time in Austin. Okay, he was projected at that time to be the Longhorns' top wide receiver. Okay, had a little bit of trouble bouncing back, but he really just needs a place to find his stride. Very talented, very high ceiling, a lot of potential, big body. Rule and his staff are going after big body type receivers. Okay, Isaiah's 6'3", 215. Big target, 1 year of eligibility left, an immediate potential starter and veteran type player. We got a lot of young, speedy receivers. I guarantee Rule wants a big-bodied vet type wide receiver to go along with these young, fast wide receivers we currently have. Okay, and Nair is very interested in Nebraska. All right, next up on the docket, real quick, before I get to the final 4 players. All right, if you are a diesel mechanic, a CDL driver, a concrete finisher, looking for work in the Omaha metro area, DPS Construction is the employer for you. If you're a general contractor, building owner, or property manager looking for concrete repair or work done in the Omaha metro area, such as street paving, building floors, and parking lots, check out dpsconstruction.net. All right, next up, Jamal Brooks, Wake Forest wide receiver, 6'4", 205. Again, another big-bodied veteran-type receiver. Okay, believed to be in Lincoln this weekend. Now, he's had 2 straight years of over 600 yards of receiving. He's probably, well, he's not probably, he is the most accomplished player of any visitor that we're going to have throughout this week or weekend here in Lincoln. In 4 years with the Demon Deacons, he has 107 career catches, 1,404 yards, 13 TDs in 44 games. Last year alone, he had 59 catches, 653 yards, and 4 TDs. All right, he has 1 year of eligibility left due to COVID rules. So he'd be like one of those super duper seniors, I guess, if you want to look at it like that. Now, he's also being courted by teams like Michigan, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Purdue. All right, next up is true freshman linebacker from Idaho, X Alexander. Now, he has an offer. He got an offer from Nebraska on Christmas Eve. All right, nice little Christmas present there. He's a 3-star coming out of high school. All right, freshman All-American. He almost led Idaho in tackles, number 2 on the team in tackles as a true freshman with 75 tackles. Now he blocked a kick and had 2 forced fumbles in addition as well. Previously committed to Arizona State. When Herm Edwards was let go, Alexander flipped to Idaho. The new staff at Arizona State really came in and wanted to focus on transfer portal players at that time. Now, Alexander has generated a lot of interest from Power 5 teams since entering the portal. His dad and brother, side note, did play for the University of Washington, and he is from the Seattle area. Okay, but he's a guy to keep your eye on, and there's definitely interest on both sides from him, and obviously as well as the Big Red. And another linebacker who played 3 seasons under Tony White at Syracuse is Stefon Thompson. All right, now he's played in 36 career games, 169 career tackles, 20 TFLs, and earned a starting job actually as a true freshman all the way back in 2020. He's 6'1", 248 pounds, has 2 seasons of eligibility left, and this is a guy who could potentially be a multi-year starter in the middle of this 3-3-5 defense. He also has offers from Arizona State and Kansas State as well. Now, those are the 5 players, all right, this week and this weekend. Just so you have a little bit of background info, keep an eye on them. But you know, I can't help but wonder about the quarterback position, a potential transfer quarterback coming in or not. All right, here are my thoughts. Okay, right off the top. You got Heinrich Haarberg already on the roster, who won 5 games last year. You got the #1 recruit in the entire country. I'm sorry, #1 quarterback recruit in the entire country, a kid who was a #1 recruit overall for a long time, and Dylan Raiola coming in. You got another quarterback who was an Elite 11 quarterback. All right, you got 2 of those guys on the roster now, and he's the only Elite 11 quarterback from Nebraska in history as well. All right, let's be honest, Daniel, in his own right, was sought after by other schools and actually committed to a team who's currently in the top 10. So do they need a transfer portal quarterback? Do they? With that on the roster? I mean, I think they do, because here's another way of looking at those same very talented players. Haarberg, I absolutely love this kid. I do. I love the kid. Love the way he plays. Nothing but class. But I've talked about the kid maybe needing to switch positions this offseason, okay? I've just thrown that out there. Now, that was when Purdy was on the team, okay? And also, 2 of these 3 guys are true freshmen, all right? Now, here's my thoughts. I'm just going to be blunt. Coaches can't screw up the quarterback position again. You can't do that 2 years in a row. No excuses. All right. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to damage a young quarterback's confidence by having to play him too soon, in my humble opinion. Now, here's the conundrum that they've got. I do think they can get a portal quarterback. Okay. But you want someone who can compete to start right away. All right. But might be okay not starting next year, because I think a year from now, there's going to be a lot of eyes on Dylan or Daniel, whoever, to potentially start. So maybe it's a senior type quarterback, which Rule has said he doesn't really want, but maybe in this scenario it works. Okay. And the other thing to consider is the transfer portal is kind of sort of limited on options at the quarterback position at this point as well. All right. And I got some questions for you fine folks. Now, the 5 players I've talked about, they are potential key pieces and potential impact players here at the University of Nebraska. So my question for you, all right, 3 of them. Let me know in the comments below, as always, of the positional players visiting this week/weekend, what's the most important position the Huskers need to get help with through the transfer portal? Wide receiver, linebacker, or running back. All right, number 2, how many of the players visiting this week/weekend will sign with Nebraska? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Just let me know the number. And as far as which position is the most important position Nebraska needs to sign, just simply write wide receiver, linebacker, or running back. And also, does Nebraska need to sign a transfer portal quarterback? Just simply say yes or no. Just simply write the position, simply say yes or no, or simply write the number for the appropriate answer to the appropriate question. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are on the social medias, all right, and if you're so inclined, you can check me out on Twitter and on Facebook, #CheapPlug. Until next time, Husker Nation, go Big Red. Have a phenomenal week and weekend, and always remember to throw the birds.